What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. White man exposes what's going on inside the house, okay? Inside their house, inside their community, right? And it's important that we listen to these white men who are explaining what's going on. Because listen, as much as we react to the things that, they do to us, or to the effects that they have on us based off the decisions, as much as we from on the outside, because no matter what it is that we deal with, we are still on the outside of their community. We can only gather but so much information, and we can only rely on those allies, right? We can only rely on those who are in there to explain to us what's going on in its full totality, right? We can only pontificate but so much. We can only guess and assume so much. We need to hear it from the horse's mouth themselves. So let's listen to these white guys, right, who are clearly allies, right? Whether because of the feelings that we have towards the greater white community, because what they did in the last election, as far as we're concerned, they don't exist, right? But in real life, they do exist, right? And they're stuck between a rock and a hard place because their entire community and culture is against them, because just for them being good, just from them being humanistic and human, they have to go against their own artificial culture. You understand? To change your culture is to go against the machine itself, which is difficult by itself, right? So you have to give these people praise when they come out and do it, because they don't got to do it. They can sit back and say, fuck it. Because whether they do anything or not, these white men can benefit either way. They can choose to say, you know what? I don't see it. They can choose to be like, I don't see color. They can choose to say, okay, well, black people don't trust me. F it, I'm going to do my own thing. They can make those decisions easily because they're within the position to do so. But when they step out there, understand they're doing that under their own fruition, knowing that it's dangerous for them to do so. Okay, so without further ado, let's listen to these white men tell us what's going on inside the house. Anyway, without further ado, this Afro Think Tank, learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Okay, I'm going to lay out what the fuck is happening right now because the cognitive dissonance is insane. Before I start this might be a little bit longer, so hit the 2x. But I grew up in the white evangelical church, finally fucking left, but was a worship leader, was a youth leader at one point, and I can tell you exactly why shit is going down the way it is. Two separate realities are happening right now. There's one reality where those of us with critical thinking, understanding of how systems work, racism, bigotry, all that shit, that's the reality that we're rooted in. That's what's actually happening. The other reality that has been created for white evangelical Christians is what they're stuck in. So as a Christian, you learn about the Old Testament, the New Testament. In the Old Testament, God was violent as fuck, but it gets normalized in a way to you because it was a justified violence that, we're taking cities for God. These cities were evil, so kill every man, woman, and child. Like, that shit's actually in the Old Testament. Then you fast forward to the New Testament, and you have this idea of Jesus, right? Living the perfect life. The Bible talks about there's no greater sacrifice than laying your life down for your fellow man. Put a pin in that. All throughout the Bible, and reinforced in Scripture, they talk about how imperfect people are used to spread the gospel of Christ. So that's why people like Trump, like Charlie Kirk, their words and actions don't fucking matter to white evangelical Christians as long as it's presented as the bigger picture under the umbrella of white evangelical Christianity, white supremacy, white nationalism. And so simultaneously, the Bible also victimizes Christians. You will be hated for standing up for Christ, right? Talk about that in the New Testament. And you can see this all throughout history, the way that the Bible has been used to justify some of the most heinous shit in this country, specifically in America, because it's always within the white people's perception of the greater good. Really, it's just colonial violence towards fucking everybody. But when you as a white person, as a white evangelical Christian, can be both the leader of moral and ethical truth and simultaneously be the victim of anybody that doesn't believe like you do, and package it under this idea of unconditional love while simultaneously telling people they'll go to hell if they don't believe the same thing you do. You create a narcissistic cycle, right? So then I can, as a white evangelical Christian, get away with any bullshit as long as I ask for forgiveness. And the greatest sin, unforgivable sin, is denouncing Christ, right? Everything else, 10 Commandments, they don't really give a fuck about that. They want to put it up in school, but you see white evangelical Christians, white supremacists carry out violence all the fucking time, but it's justified. Because I can't see other people as human in their full humanity if they do not align with what I stand on, with my beliefs. The Bible talks about there's only one way into heaven, and that's through Jesus Christ. And so when we have people, again, like Donald Trump and Charlie Kirk, if they are preaching this or throwing this shit out there, sticking it to the wall, Christians are going to eat that shit up. And then it clicks in their brain that these men, now mind you, in a Christianity, it goes Jesus, men, everybody else underneath. So when you have these white evangelical men perpetuating these narratives, perpetuating this bigotry, it reinforces their beliefs, reinforces their victimization, reinforces that they will be oppressed because they're standing up for morality and ethics. So it feeds into the cycle of white supremacy, right? There's only one right way. Worship the written word, the Bible. Like the list, you can tie it all together in the list of the core tenets of white supremacy. And so they operate in this different reality that they have created for themselves, where they can carry out and speak out any type of violence, support it, repent for it, move on with their lives, while simultaneously be the victim if anyone holds them accountable for the fucked up shit that they do. And if you are trapped inside the cult of white evangelical Christianity, they make it feel like every single thing that is not the same as you is a threat to your existence. So again, going back to the New Testament where it talks about, the greatest sacrifice a man could do is lay his life down for his fellow people. You have now martyred, like Charlie Kirk. Doesn't matter how fucking racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, ageist, the list goes on. If he was still standing for truth or pushing the gospel of Christ, then it's okay to them because God uses imperfect people. And so when the communities that have been actively harmed by the rhetoric and narratives that come out of the far right say, hey, that shit is hurtful to us. This creates violence towards us, and we don't appreciate it. Even if that's all that's said, then all of a sudden, white evangelical Christians look at that and they equate it to hate for the way that they navigate life. That's why they are overreacting, because they will hold humanity only for white people and truly only for white evangelical Christian men. And so when something happens to a godlike figure, they view it as an attack on their entire identity. And when you have an identity that is strictly based in hatred and bigotry, knowing you could lose your life, will literally turn white people fucking feral. And that's what's happening right now. They can't see humanity and all these other, that's why we lay all this shit out with all the other atrocities, Palestine, Congo, Sudan, black indigenous people of color being violently hurt by the government, like dude, it's so long, but it doesn't apply to them. But now the one person that looks like them, that pushed all their fucking harmful narratives that they could hide behind, is gone. The mask is gone. And when they chose to openly mourn this man, they unintentionally told everybody that they are also fucking white supremacists. And so a lot of white people are fighting themselves in the fucking mirror right now. And they cannot stand to look at ourselves as a collective in the face.
So now all of a sudden, for so many people that beg for civil war, that have their community based on the internet, they're going to be cut off from that community anyway. So you have people that are going to drop from not having the medicine they need. You're going to have all your creature comforts gone. And now what are you left with? You're left with the hope. The hope that you might be able to survive a fight against your fellow Americans. Because why? You didn't like their view on transgenders. Or because you didn't like that Cracker Barrel changed its name or changed its signage. You don't like the fact that, I don't know, it's all these different things you don't agree with. Maybe the tax rates are too high. Maybe they're too low. All of that pales in comparison to the discomfort and pure horror of what a civil war would bring. And guess what? At the end of all of it, let's even say your side wins. Well, what are you going to get? Well, the rest of your life is going to be spent trying to rebuild what you had before the civil war you incited came.
So something interesting about white culture came out in a discussion I was having with my friends the other day. So the first thing to know is amongst my group of friends, I'm kind of the token white guy. I'm friends with a lot of people of color here in Brooklyn. In reflecting on my experience in the conversation, I just made this point, which is that there is really no such thing as white community. Like growing up in Metro Detroit, there was a black community, there was an Indian community, there was an Asian community, but there was no white community. There were white communities, like there were different groups of white people who predominantly got together in their own communities, like country clubs or churches or something. But there was no sense of like racial community to white people generally. This is really interesting because I had a lot of ethnic friends like Indian and Asian who had their own communities of people who would give each other opportunities and help each other out. And they had to because there were institutional factors that were probably preventing them from being as successful as they normally otherwise would have been. I'm just curious if other white people have noticed this because I've never felt like I've had a group of people I can go to who will help me solve my problems. It feels like you're all on your own.
You want to know why white people hate every single culture? It's for many reasons. It's not just because of one reason. And one of them is most cultures, like the Hispanics, the indigenous people, the Asians, they don't need money to be happy. Where white people need money to be happy all the time. White people don't like other cultures because it shows the shame inside them that they never really created anything in this world other than trauma. Trauma and drama. Drama. Because every culture, the Asians, the Hispanics, the indigenous people, all have done something to make this world what it is today. Not really whites. I mean, look at the cars we have now in America. White people cars, because they got the blueprint from the indigenous people and they got rid of them. So now we got all the cars now that all look the same now. It's all generic white people shit. Like it's like I have a Jeep right now. And I could easily get a Kia and it's cheaper and it looks better than the Jeep. Like, they all look the same. That's why I think it's hilarious how people want to get, like, Range Rovers and all this other bullshit just to look cool outside. And it's just like, all the fucking cars look the same. Because white people, it's literally white people written all over it. Let's make all the cars look the same because we got the blueprint now. Anyone's going to buy it now, which is true. Everyone keeps buying these bullshit cars. By the way, the indigenous people made 10 times better because otherwise we'd be driving box cars with no blinkers on them. The Asian community amped up even more. So it's just like, what have white people ever do? And that's why they hate other cultures, because they know deep down they just never did anything. The other cultures come over here and they strut and they do better than them. That's why they want to deport them all the time. Because they have that shame of the being useless and worthless. About the Asians, about the indigenous people, about the Hispanics, it would be looking like the Family Odd Parents if everything looks gray. I mean, it already kind of looks like that. I mean, look at McDonald's now. It's all gray. There's no color to it anymore. Everything's fucking gray. We're living in the Family Odd Parents of the gray. Everything's gray. It's just, everyone's just as the same, looks the same. because it's white people culture type shit. It's just generic. So it's a lot of things that why they don't like other cultures, because our cultures don't need wealth to be happy. Most cultures created most of everything in this world. That's why the world's running the way it is today. This is what white people just did. Money, buy, sell. That's it. Nothing unique about white people. And I'm white, and I can admit it. That's why they have no true friendships, the white community. That's why they have the hierarchy. And they always like to stab each other. I mean, every culture does it, but it's mostly the white people, because they created this. They want to be a superior. They think they're alpha or something. Whatever the fucking label they love to give themselves. And a lot of people don't fall for their shit, knowing that they're not all alpha, they're this or that. They're just a human being that thinks money and status is the way to go. So they don't have true friendships. It's always talking shit about each other. Even the females, they're always doing something behind each other's backs. And in my opinion, I think mostly the lonely epidemic it's in the white community more than any other culture. That's just my opinion. You mostly see white people talk about it more than anybody else. So just saying. White people don't have culture or community.
All those folks who say it's not racist to be proud to be white. Yeah, it is. It's not racist to be proud to be English or Irish or Italian or Eastern European. Those are places. Those are cultures. They're not a skin color. So when you say I'm a proud Irish American, or when you say I'm proud to be from Scotland, that's great. That's not racist. But when you say I'm proud to be white, you're a fucking racist. So if you wish to be proud of your culture, you can absolutely be proud of your culture. But not proud to be white. Now, I will make the caveat that if the culture that you're proud of is the seceded southern United States, the Confederate States of America, yeah, that's racist too. If you're holding on to the most racist ideology in the last 200 years, yeah, you're a racist.
White people, if crime statistics really mattered to us, we would be talking about white men every damn day. We as white people love to throw around statistics when it comes to the black community. We love to misconstrue data about poverty rates, crime rates, single-parent households. Here's the thing. If you really want to talk about problematic behavior in terms of statistics, we need to talk about white men. Most mass shootings in America? White men. School shootings? White men. Intimate partner violence, typically known as domestic violence? White men. Police brutality and systemic violence? White men. Online harassment and extremism? White men. Domestic terrorism? White men. Serial killers? White men. The demographic making up the vast majority of CEOs, judges, senators, and police chiefs who refuse to hold white men responsible? White men. And yet us white men are really talked about as being a problem. Few white people are asking, what's wrong with white men? What's wrong with the culture? Few white men are demanding that we be fixed. And why? Because we as white men humanize and individualize white violent offenders. And it's time to flip the script. To shame and blame, because I know white males are incredibly fragile when it comes to that, but instead to name what's really going on and who continues to be protected and not held accountable because of selective storytelling. I hope this helps.
Fear of open conflict is a tenet of white supremacy culture. Think of how many times you've been at the dinner table with your family or in a work setting and they've told you not to talk about a certain topic because it's impolite. Most notably when it comes to politics or human rights issues such as race. How many times have you been in a setting where you know that something said or done was wrong, however you did nothing to change the circumstances? White supremacy and the fear of open conflict is so ingrained in our society that we even have a word for it: the bystander bystander effect. When we're in a group, it's easier for us to assume that someone else will step up and do something, so we don't do anything ourselves. This is a problem when everyone assumes that everyone else will act and no one actually does. And I'll tell you right now that the wealthiest people in this country are afraid of the working class. How many of you have personally met a multi-millionaire or a billionaire? They avoid us like the plague. They control our politicians to keep us divided. They inflate the costs of our goods to keep us poor. And they make sure that the education funding goes to the more well-to-do neighborhoods, leaving the American people broke and ignorant. The average reading level of Americans right now is 6th grade. And the federal poverty line for a single person working a full-time job is $7.60. The federal minimum wage is $7.25. That doesn't add up to me. If you are afraid of open conflict, I encourage you to start looking for some. Conflict does not have to be a bad thing. When there is conflict, there is growth. So go out there and break the status quo and learn up.
Because it was the white man, when they arrived here in the Americas, that slaughtered over 13 million natives. It was the white man that raped their women and daughters. It was the white man that destroyed their culture. It was the white man that took their language. It was the white man that devastated the beauty of what was here prior. And standing on the words of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, when the missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible and we had the land. They said, let us pray. We closed our eyes, and when we opened them, we had the Bible and the white man had the land. See, it was the white man that went over to Africa and slaughtered millions, enslaved millions, destroyed their culture, their language, and the beauty that was there prior to us. Because, see, I recall it was the white man who enslaved our black brothers and sisters once they took them from Africa here to the Americas. And for over 400 years, it's been the white man that has continued to enslave our black brothers and sisters. In fact, when they were prospering like Black Wall Street, it was the invasion of the white man that destroyed that city. It was the invasion of the white man onto the island of Puerto Rico that devastated the people that lived there. It was the white man that stepped foot into the islands and the nations of Haiti that once again devastated and left it to die. Because the reality is this: everywhere the white man has invaded, everywhere the white man has placed his foot, he has left it destroyed.
Hey, white men, what culture do you identify as? Do you even care? That's the problem. White people have turned our politics into identity politics because white men do not want to identify themselves as a culture. They don't. Why would they? Because then they would be scrutinized and subjected to all of the different minority stuff that's happening around the country with culture. White male culture is prevalent and it is dominant in our society, and all of these people are ignoring it. They think that their identity is the norm. They think their identity is the standard. They think their identity is American. It's not. It's just white male culture. It's in a box. We put them in that box. They put themselves in that box, but we keep them in that box and we remind them of who they are. Just a bunch of white men. That's it.
I definitely benefit from slavery, right? I live in an American empire. I benefit from what we did in Afghanistan, what we do in Somalia currently. Not through my direct action, just from where I was born. Yeah. But there are those people with names and addresses that own Chase Bank, they own JP Morgan, that their grandfather himself, you know, took the money from the cotton. Their grandfathers themselves own the ships. So, I mean, is there in your mind a difference between, I'm not going to say Sam because he's native, a fella like me or Jimmy, and then a fella like a Chase Bank owner? Or are we the same type of person to you?
Yeah, well, all white people are the devil to us in the sense of, devil just mean deceiver. right?
Yeah, Satan the opposer.
I'm gonna
right?
tell you why a lot of times why white people have no empathy for us, because the white man's such a devil, he's oppressing you too.
I would agree with that.
So when I say the white man's a devil, you like, oh, what about me?
Oh.
Because you're getting oppressed too. Well, he's gonna have his judgment too. But his sacrifice is the reason why you get to live your life and not have to worry about, crack in your neighborhoods, or make sure you don't worry about growing up with a single mother. Now it happens, but not to a level it happens to us.
Right.
So all we want to happen is, well, we want our people to live like that. That's all. We just want to try, get a crack at it, just see how good we are at it.
Ooh, I see a lot of people mad today. Very mad. Look, only white people can be racist. And you cannot be racist to white people. It's impossible. I am white. Be racist to me. Show me how it's done. Show me how you're racist to all the other white people. You can't do it because it's impossible. You have a nice day.
What caused me, a former card-carrying racist, to change my perspective and see the world like I do now? I knew this question was coming. It's been asked me a lot of times, and I didn't know how I wanted to verbalize it. I dated a girl with biracial kids years ago that I adored and loved. You spend 23-1 with a person of color in a prison cell. You get to know them really well. You have to get along. You ask questions. You listen. You learn. I mean, I'd love to tell you it's all these experiences, but being transparent, truth be told, I didn't have the strength and courage to do this on my own. I lacked that to have enough to fight this disease, is the best way to say it. So I give absolute credit to God, because he set me on this path. I realize I'm called to serve, and other people by that I mean, and he pulled back the curtain. And I've always been the type of man, once I know something or I see something, I can't unsee it or unknow it. Now I'm out of state willfully ignorant to some things because I know how the man I am. Once I know it, it's going to change me. So I might have purposely ignored things. I'll admit that. But once I really delved into this, and it basically got down to me, I solved problems by looking at it and then immediately stepping 180 degrees into the other side of the equation and looking at it. So I asked myself two easy questions. And have you never met anybody who can answer them? The first one, I asked myself, what did Black America or people of color ever do to me? Now, I'm not talking about having a beef with another human being as a person of color. I'm talking about as a whole, as a community. Thought long and hard about it. Couldn't answer it. And then I asked myself, what has the shield of racism, this powerful kryptonite against Black people, how has it protected me? It hasn't. It never will. Racism is a disease of the heart and mind. And one of the hardest parts about this journey is you're going to have a identity crisis or crisis of character, because you have to admit that your character is flawed, it's corrupt, part of it, and that you're wrong, and you've been taught wrong, and you've believed wrong, and you were just fundamentally wrong. And that is hard for a lot of people's egos. But I'm going to tell you, when you come on the other side of this and you get past this and you learn to forgive yourself for thinking this way about people you don't even know, because you're going to have to do that. But once you do, the world is so beautiful. The colors are brighter. The sound is more melodious. Things taste better. You have a different perspective. It's healthier. It's hard. It's something I will fight subconscious bias for the rest of my life. But it's a fight I'm now prepared for. Hope that answers your question. Have a great evening.
Let's talk about the Parsley massacre of Haitians and Black Dominicans in the Dominican Republic. In 1937, Rafael Trujillo, the U.S.-backed dictator of the Dominican Republic, ordered the murder of thousands of Haitians and Black Dominicans living near the border between the two countries. His objective was to cleanse the Dominican Republic of Haitian influence, as well as tighten his grip on the border for land, labor, and power. Over the course of only 5 days, Dominican soldiers used machetes, rifles, and knives to kill an estimated 15,000 to 20,000 people. Entire families, no trials, juries, or charges, just execution squads carrying out a genocide. And in order to identify the correct people they were supposed to kill, the soldiers held up a sprig of parsley and asked the people to identify it. Whoever said the Spanish word for parsley with a Haitian Creole accent was marked for death. hence the Parsley Massacre. But this was not about language, it was about race, hence why many dark-skinned Dominicans were also killed. So where did the U.S. stand on this, since we trained, armed, and supported Trujillo for years because he was anti-communist and kept the country open to U.S. sugar companies? After the massacre, we didn't condemn or punish him, but we did let him pay a token $525,000 in reparations to Haiti, representing stability for investors. Trujillo not only slaughtered Haitians in this horrific event, but he ran a brutal police state for over 30 years while we had his back the entire time, until he came to own so much land himself that he began pushing U.S. companies out of the economy, so then the CIA helped kill him. When people say things like, why can't immigrants just fix their own countries? Maybe we should ask why our country keeps funding, arming, and training people who create hell on earth in their countries. When Dominicans and Haitians show up on our shores, they aren't looking for handouts. They're looking to live their lives in peace and escape conditions that we enabled.
We're confronted with your racial identity in America. If you're white, any other race, you're and I recognize that, you know, and I see that around me, and more important even for white people to try to combat that sort of that kind of problem in America. You know, it's like in many ways I get flack for this, but I think it's a white problem. You know, it's because it's white blindness and white fragility, all these different things that I'm incredibly interested in as an artist and as a person. You know, it feels important to speak on that. You know, as a white person, and I don't think enough people do. Yeah. I don't know. I'm it's a gift and a curse of being an empathetic, you know, in my mind, or kind of a normal fucking person, right? To care about other people. Yeah. But in a real way, not in a, you know, fake diverse, you know.
You guys know I'm pretty good at staying calm. As a person born into nearly every class of privilege, it's easy for me to stay emotionally detached from most issues. But I found an issue that broke me. Almost speechless. Not because I don't know what to say, but because almost everything I need to say will get me shut down. That topic is all the rage on MAGA talk. They call it black fatigue. Good news is I found a way to say what needs to be said without getting shut down. Because this is not a topic we get to sit out on privilege. Burn this image into your head, because this is our country's history. 250 years where they were victims of crimes against humanity, followed by an 89-year period where they were technically classified as human, so long as they didn't try to be a human in the same room as the ruling class. That was followed by this little green period. That's the period where Republicans blamed them for the consequences of the red and yellow periods, while at the same time celebrating building a post-racial society. And now that this is being pointed out, MAGA people have fatigue. Fatigue in their homes that live outside of the red line district. Fatigue as they go to the bank to deposit their inheritance checks. Fatigue as they get hired for director of sales at their family's century-old business right out of high school. The fact is, when it comes to quality of life, every single metric measuring health, wealth, and happiness proves that the world we've built creates cruel and intentional barriers for Black Americans. Barriers built into every system we have, from health to education to employment to justice. And until those systems are dismantled and rebuilt fairly, we don't get to be fatigued by the work.
You'll never believe what I heard the other day. Heard a white man on this app talking about the fact that as a white man in the United States of America, that he was no longer free to say the things that need to be said. Seriously? Look, as a white man growing up in the United States, I have never, ever been treated as a suspect. I have never walked into a retail space and had people follow me around because they were nervous that I might steal something. Everyone has always been willing to help me or to direct me to the right person to get help without assuming that my motivations were somehow nefarious. And never ever have I been pulled over by law enforcement and feared that that routine traffic stop would end in my death. These are things that Black people and brown people and people of color and people who belong to marginalized groups in our society report experiencing on a daily basis. When white people in our society get upset when those that are part of historically marginalized groups begin to assert their rights to existence, acceptance, and equality, that should tell you everything you need to know about white privilege and white power in the United States.
All right, y'all, say it with me now. The problem is white men. The problem in this country is white men.
He was a white supremacist. He died tragically and was still a terrible person, and flags should not be flown at half-mast. This isn't just a case of white-on-white crime. It's white gangs versus other white gangs. White supremacy, and specifically white cis males, are the biggest threat to our country. And sadly, it's always been like that. I say all of this as a white cis male, as a parent of 2 white sons, as a national board certified history teacher.
I am so sick of seeing posts like this. Stop with this nonsense. This is exactly what causes a divide and hatred in our country. The simple fact that you would go on the internet and spew this racist crap about straight cis white males being the biggest threat to our democracy today is not only disgusting but highly irresponsible from somebody who claims to be in the field of education. I wouldn't want my children anywhere near you, and I feel a bit sorry for your own children if you're going to raise them in an environment where they're learning to hate themselves simply because of the color of their skin. There is no threat from me to your democracy or your freedoms. I get up on November 5th just like the rest of you. I put my pants on, I go down to our local voting station, I cast my 1 ballot, I go home, sit down, watch a little TV, maybe I make a bowl of popcorn, and I shut the front door. You should do the same. Stop posting this hateful rhetoric. Have the day you were meant to have.
Let's talk about the real criminals. This is your daily reminder that 62% of child predators are white men. Of those white men, 90% claim that they are Christians. So the next time you want to invite a Christian male over to your house, you might want to keep an eye on them.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Wait. Before you go, for all my subscribers and philanthropists out there, I'm building a solar power community water bowl system in Nigeria. It's going to cost between $5,000 and $6,000. I'm trying to raise money. If you want to participate and help me build this solar power water system, please donate to the Cash App and put solar water in the notes. Solar water in the notes. I'll put PayPal, Stripe, and Zelle. Anyway, thank you. That's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out. Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.